questions. If not, I have somebody. Yes.
It sounds like it really helped you to have those like contacts through Neiman Marcus and otherwise when you were starting your company. But what would you recommend to, I was talking to you earlier about how like entrepreneurship is like becoming very popular at Rice, so would you recommend that like a really young person like in their mid-20s say start a company, or that they should wait and kind of build a career first?
I don't think it's one or the other. I think it depends. I mean, I look at Allie Webb from Dry Bar. She doesn't have a college degree, which is very interesting. She was a hairdresser. But her brother was head of marketing at Yahoo, and he could see that she had come up with a concept. So I think you might have a great idea if you have, again, some of the other smart people you need in your room to help you get it going. Then I recommend, if you have a great idea from the beginning, we know some very famous names where they started at the beginning, and they're like the richest people in the country now. So I think it depends. For me, I was much more comfortable having had my background, having learned so much in, to me, I got my MBA at Foley's and at Neiman's. And then I felt so comfortable starting a company. And I think it was a real head start for me. But if you have an idea earlier and you can get the right people with you, and of course capital is the great challenge too.
So having a vision and then having like a vision for a launch is like a vision of what your product is and then a vision for how you're actually, like I have this amazing thing, how do I get it to the market? Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, you said that you had like an amazing sales team. How did you surround yourself with those people?
Well, I wrote a business plan. I really wrote it for myself because I started with my own money. Most people who are asking venture capital for money have to write a business plan for that. Write it for yourself. Write an actual business plan. And you have to put that all down. Are you majoring in business? What do you?
I mean, I will be.
You will be, okay. But I would really say put it all down on paper and put the components. Like I knew I would have to do product, sales, marketing, PR, distribution, and who could help me do those things.
Right.
So, and really, I knew very little about makeup. I mean, I wore it, but I didn't know. What I did have, and of course, again, I started much later, but I had every number from Neiman Marcus, so I knew what Chanel's top 5 things were, what Trish McEvoy, so I had some insider scoop. But I've never done anything like that, like buying a forklift. I mean, I just went online because now you can Google, forklifts. I mean, and my first office was on Wesleyan, and I didn't know how to figure out on the exchange rates on how to sell in yen. So I just went down to the bank. Chase Bank had to be the base of the building, and I just went in and said, I mean, you can't be embarrassed, how do you do this? So, I mean, it's amazing how little I knew in certain areas, even though I've done a lot of things. So, but I would start with a business plan, and then I would have some people who are in business review your plan to see how realistic it is.
The people that you initially wanted on your team, were they pretty enthusiastic about working with you, or was it kind of difficult to collect them?
Good question. First of all, I was in Houston. There are no cosmetics companies in Houston. So that was challenging. And I needed a top person in the cosmetics industry to move here because I had never been in the cosmetics. I'd been in retail. I understood what sold at Neiman Marcus, but I didn't know. So Sharon Collier, who without her, I wish it had been named Sharon Collier almost, because without her, I could not have done it. She was the president of Yves Saint Laurent Cosmetics US. And she took a risk and she moved to Houston. And she was my right and left arm. So yes, she did come, and if they will not come with you unless they drink your Kool-Aid. You must be so energized. I would say, oh my God, they drank the Kool-Aid, because we would hire people from Estee Lauder, and we would like go in a room and go, I can't believe she's coming with us. But so what we did is we couldn't afford, say, the manager of Estee Lauder at Neiman Marcus, but we could afford the assistant manager and make her a manager. So, because she was going to say, God, it's 5 more years before this other person's going to get promoted. So that's how we did build a team. A little junior, but it worked. Yes?
You had 3 different jobs. What were your, very different jobs. What were your favorite parts about each one? Like if you have a favorite,
Well, I have loved each phase of my life. It's been great. I didn't plan any of this except retail. I loved retailing. It was fun, and I worked in a heyday of retailing, so that was really fun. I loved Neiman Marcus. I loved the beautiful clothes. I mean, I loved all the things. Probably that's not what you're supposed to love, but I did. And it's kind of funny because at Foley's, I was one of 2 women on the board, but at Foley's it was a pretty rough place and a lot of cussing amongst the senior team and everything. So that's what I knew. So I go to Neiman's and we have our first board meeting and they have Altoids. That's the first time I ever heard of Altoids. Each person had Altoids and Avion water. And I thought, oh, they're so clean and neat and nice here. But I spoke like I spoke at Foley's, and I'm the only woman on the board. And at the end, the CEO pulled me on. He said, Janet, you talk like a sailor. You have embarrassed 11 men. So I said, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed I can't come to work for a week. But anyway, so I learned in each phase. But at Neiman's, I think branding, it was so strong to me what I learned, not only about the Neiman's brand, but about all the great brands that make up Neiman's. And then I will say nothing is better than having an idea and building your own company. I named it Laura Mercier. It's better if you name it yourself. Because like Laura Mercier, and I would go places, people would go, oh my God, it's Laura Mercier. And then there I would be like chopped liver, and I would really own the company, but she was the one who had the fame. So, but it was the greatest experience. That was the greatest experience.
What are your most important values, and how do you use your influence as a businesswoman to support those values?
Wow, that's very deep. I would say what I value is helping women, and I do have a scholarship at the University of Alabama in the name of Green Gurwitch, which Wilma Green was my professor, who I believe without her I maybe wouldn't have gone to grad. Very few women, it graduated in 1974, at the University of Alabama wanted such a serious career, and she knew I did, and she not only helped me in preparing for my interviews, but the rest of my career, she was just such a loyal friend. So I send one woman to business school at the University of Alabama every year. And then I try to speak to as many women as I can, either singly when friends call me and say, I mean, I speak to men too, obviously, friends, sons, but I love if I can help women. Yeah.
It seems that in a lot of your businesses, there are a lot of men at the top. How did you get them to take you seriously?
Well, it always surprised me because many of you are probably in engineering and many really male-dominated fields. You would think in retail and fashion it would be different, but not when I was, in my 20s and 30s, it was not the case. I remember once we went to Warnaco, and it was a man, there was a president. I was thinking, like, how can he be head of a bra company? But he was. So I feel that I always felt very strongly. I feel I was always very educated in what I was doing. Your confidence must come from your education, must come from your strength. I always studied. I really know what I'm talking about, and then, because if not, I don't say anything. And I dealt from strength, and in the end, success, they're going to reward success. I was in a field that was more open to women, but I'm going to give you 2 colleagues of mine that have gone to the top of the corporate world. I left the corporate world and went to the entrepreneurial world, but Karen Katz, who is from Dallas, but went to the University of Houston, she is the CEO of Neiman Marcus. She is the first woman, she's the one who did it, and has done a terrific job. And one of the questions that Ming sent me was, how do people balance career and family? So I'm going to use these 2 women as examples. Karen Katz has 1 child, 1 son, and a husband who has a nice job, but nothing like being the CEO of Neiman Marcus. So he has been involved in the raising of their son. The other colleague of mine who has really done well is Sharon Turney, and she was with me at Foley's and Neiman. She is the CEO of Victoria's Secret. It's $6.5 billion. She makes about $20 million a year, one of the most successful women in the United States. And I just saw her in New York. I have to tell a little side story on Sharon Turney. This has nothing to do with your career. But she's a very attractive woman, 56 years old, looks great. But at Neiman, we all dressed Chanel jackets, hair, little bob, little earrings, very cute, good Chanel bag. So I see her, and she meets me for breakfast at the Essex House just a few weeks ago. She's the CEO of Victoria's Secret, long blonde hair, short skirt, talking. I went, oh my God, you look like Victoria's Secret. And she said, Janet, live the brand. And I thought that was so great. One, she looks great and she can, but her husband did not work. He chose not to work, and they have one son who goes to SMU. And I said, what'd you give your son for his birthday? And she said, I had the Victoria's Secret models do a video for him. So I said, some girl's never going to be enough for him. But anyway, probably marry him on. But anyway, so those are two women in my same age range who did balance it. I do not have children, but a lot of people ask. I think women my age, many of us did not. You could have, I did not, but they both did, and it's just interesting. I think it will be, again, easier for you guys. I never think it's easy. It's not easy to be a mother. It's not easy to be a CEO. So mixing it will always be, a challenge, and it just depends. I always think if you really want to be the CEO of Apple, maybe you don't want 5 children, or you need a husband that's going to be very, very involved. Like Sheryl Sandberg. Other question? Yeah.
Was it an easy transition from retail into cosmetics?
Because I had so much experience. I did things I've never done before. I think it's always been a challenge. I love challenging myself. Probably more challenge there. One of the biggest problems was Laura Mercier. Laura Mercier is a French woman who's an artist. I am an American woman who's not, who's a businesswoman, and we had a very challenging relationship. It was her name, but my company. And so, I had to learn a lot about how to work with her, and, that was a challenge. But I don't know, I loved it. I loved going to Japan and learning how to do business in Japan. We went to China. There are trade barriers in Japan. I learned so much. I went to the U.S. Embassy to see if they could help me. At the time, it was Ambassador Baker helping me try to get rid of some of the trade barriers. They take common U.S. formulas in cosmetics, and they're not used in Japan. So, just many interesting things I learned just about global business, and so I have to say I love that. And then with private equity, I learn every day. All my partners have MBAs from Harvard or Stanford or whatever, and so I always think, I'm in the room and I don't, but they told me once, well, you're the one who knows if we should buy Drybar or not. We know what to do after that. So I think, we all bring different things to the table, and I've enjoyed each phase of my career. Great questions.
You talk a lot about entrepreneurship. Could you talk a bit more about women and venture capitalism? Like big general opinion about that.
In what sense?
I guess,
Opportunities or?
Yeah, opportunity, what kind of environment you're in, and I know I think there's still somewhat of a gender disparity.
I think there is, and I don't know if that's because women aren't I don't know the answer why that is. I am not there's venture capital, which is someone who you really go with a high-risk venture. We are in private equity. We take a company after you've already had a certain level of success. After everybody's saying, Laura Mercier, then we take it. We don't take it when you come to us and say, I have this great idea. That's a different group. They take a bigger piece, and I do find less women in that. In my firm, there are no women partners but myself. And I don't know why that is, because so many business schools, I don't know if women are choosing other avenues. I think a woman can do great in private equity because, they lean on me all the time. They're looking at companies all the time that they don't even understand. They understand the numbers, but, so many women are the consumers. So I think there's great opportunity, but you're right. I noticed that they are mainly men. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of work.
What do you think is your greatest strength as a businesswoman, or a business person and a businesswoman?
I have to say, my sex didn't matter one way or the other. I don't think it was a plus or a minus. I really don't. So I did see that was a question. Someone said, had I felt discriminated or whatever. I really did not. Partially it was my field, but partially I just didn't even think about it, and it didn't happen. I was in a business that judged you on numbers for the most part, and if you had good numbers, I did learn to be more political, I think, as women were not. And at Foley's, I remember one year I didn't get a promotion after they told me I'd had the best numbers of all the buyers, and I didn't get the promotion, and I went and asked, and they said, no one even knows who you are. You're always in your office. So I then realized you have to kind of, you know, pump your own horn there. So I learned a lot, but I have always not competed with anyone but myself, and just been very driven, had definite goals, and tried to see the people that reached those goals before me, what had they done, and what could I learn from them.
Okay, that's the end of our event, and you're more than welcome to talk to Ms. Gurwitch to discuss more about stuff in detail. And we have a little gift for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, guys. I'd like to